I just would like to welcome everybody today and tell you a little bit about SHA. I'll start with that. So I've been at SHA for almost 7 years. I'm the executive director, and the Supportive Housing Association is a nonprofit state trade association and a trade association of member organizations. And our member organizations pays dues every year, and they are made up of organizations that build affordable housing. So we have developers, we have architects, we have many people that go into that building, vendors that go into that kind of work, including furniture vendors that help you buy furniture reasonably priced to fill those units that need that kind of thing. And we also have service providers, and our service providers serve people with a variety of disabilities. One of the benefits of SHA as an organization, I think, is that we look for all types of people with disabilities or barriers. So oftentimes we will do information sessions on things that span siloed disability, verticals like intellectual and developmental disabilities, mental health, addiction, homelessness, veterans, LGBTQ brothers and sisters, aging, those that are aging. So our members are a variety of people, and these are all people who make up our membership organizations. And then we also hear from, although they aren't members necessarily, people with lived experience, and we've done a number of focus groups and various other things. We also do a lot of grant work. We write grants to fill gaps and holes in the industry in general. So we have a variety of those things that we do. We're a very small staff. We have 2 full-time people and a couple of part-time people, and that's it, really. And that's kind of what we do. So as I said, we actually serve, our members serve a lot of different people. Our service providers serve a lot of different people. And, the thing is, we're not just one thing, right? I'm a mother, I'm a grandmother, I am, executive director of a nonprofit. I'm also an ordained deacon in the Episcopal Church. I have a lot of different facets to my personality, and some people who are homeless also have mental health challenges, or they're physically disabled veterans who might have trauma, right? And various other things. So we're just not, and everybody's aging as we speak, including me. So we're just not one thing. And that's why it's important to look at the whole. We feel it is important to look at the whole. So when you talk about supportive housing is affordable housing plus services together, and you probably all know that. And so there's, we really have to look at a lot of different funding streams and a lot of different, we have to pay attention to a lot of policy issues. We have to pay attention to capital financing for housing, and that comes from a variety of organizations and state and federal funding streams. We have to care about housing vouchers, and we're going to talk about that today, rental vouchers, because the rental vouchers serve 2 purposes, actually. They serve the purpose of having people pay rent that is very, very affordable to them, right, based on their income. But it also serves a purpose for the housing developer or manager of that affordable housing, or a unit, because it does pay a guaranteed rent. And that's very important, especially when you have to manage a building and pay a mortgage and also pay for the roof being done and different things. So, the housing vouchers are critically important to the operations of the building. And then, of course, the services, which are Medicaid funded. I'm not going to go too much into that at all. So the first thing I want to tell you is that on our website at www.sha.org, thank you very much. We have a whole section called the Housing Hub, and I want to point out a few things that are on there. The Housing Hub was started because the New Jersey Council on Developmental Disabilities gave us money and grant work over the years to develop a lot of resources, and they gave us some money so that we could put together this web page. And now it's kind of outlived them in terms of we have a couple of other things. This is actually a very static page, so it doesn't even have everything we have on it. We don't even really have a housing search anymore, but I'm going to go over this in a little bit. But it has a lot of things. And I'll just point out a few of them, and then we're going to get into the housing pieces of it. So one, we started out with a resource guide called The Journey to Community Housing and Supports. And it really is largely for people who serve or people who are intellectually and developmentally disabled for the most part. So it goes into a lot of the different housing models of that, how you make sure that you get on Medicaid and do your New Jersey CAT to get your services, because the services are integral to that. It also has a lot about the actual affordable housing and different things in that. So it's really a good primer, and it's like 60 pages. But it's very useful, and it's still useful today. And we've probably given out about 6,000 to 8,000 copies of that. I still have some in my office in hard copy, but we also have it on our website with a link, which sometimes is easier because you could then click on the links that are in there. But if you need any of those, the people you serve or want them, to reach out to me or the council, who also has them in Trenton, and we'll figure out a way to get them to you. I want to get them out. I still have a few boxes of those. And then we did a shorter primer, accessing development disability services in New Jersey. It's much shorter. It does have a little bit of the flow chart, for example, and a little bit of what's in the journey, but much shorter. It's about 25 pages. I don't have any more hard copies of that, but it is in Spanish and English on our website, and the council does have that. It does also go a little bit more into the service piece, and it does include services for people under 21. So that's important. We have several bulletins, which I'm going to go over a few of them today. The bulletins were designed because when we put out the Journey to Community Housing Supports, it was already outdated, and we weren't able to get in depth on a few subjects. So we have 4 bulletins, and they're 2 pages long, and they're on our website. One is on affordable housing, and one is on rental assistance. The other one is on assistive technology, which is very good, and another one on employment. So they're very short bulletins, but they go more in depth than the Journey could, and provide the most up-to-date information that we have on there for example, rental assistance. So if I had to think about rental assistance or affordable housing, I'd go right to the bulletin. I wouldn't use the bigger resource guide. And then we did several videos, which I really love. Again, very geared toward intellectual and developmental disabilities. Thank you. I love this. Thank you very much, Lauren, for putting all these good links up there. So the videos are exceptional, I think, because they provide some information on unusual ways people have mixed and matched those the resources available, whether they're rental assistance or living together, shared living, or living in a manufactured home or modular modular home park. So what you would think of as a trailer park, but it's not really a trailer park. It's more like little houses, and there aren't that many in New Jersey, but that provides a really good option for someone with autism. And he talks about it, and his mother talks about why that's a good option for him and things that she's tried in the past. So I love our little 5-minute videos. They're really great. I think it's kind of like an education. So think about reading some of the material and then watching the videos. And I think that's a really good education. And then housing navigators. So we did a course in housing navigation, and it was for people who work in the field primarily. And the course was designed off of a course in New York from the Housing Resource Center in New York. And they gave us the material, and we paid them and we worked with them to adapt it for New Jersey. So it's about it was about 15 sessions, and it spanned a lot of different information about housing. So it gave the people who attended, which were largely support coordinators, brokers, and other people in the field really serving people. Not almost all of them are serving people with intellectual and developmental disabilities, but not everyone. And so they completed this course, they got a lot out of it, and we put all of the people who did that course on our website. So if you need really more help, you might look to a housing navigator. We do have, and we'll probably update it soon. So we have them listed a little bit geographically, and then there's a PDF that you can open with more names. And the reason we did that, and we're going to probably put all the names all on one page now, but at the time, they had to do some homework. So they all attended the classes, but there was homework involved. And the people that are on the webpage right at the front are the people who completed the homework. And we felt like we wanted to tell people there were other people who completed the education, but didn't, and they were valuable too, but we didn't want to give them equal standing with the people that actually did the whole thing. So that's what we did, but we probably will adjust that. But look for that PDF on that webpage, and for the service providers there, and maybe there'll be some extra help for you. We now have a new project. I'll talk about that at the end if we have time. Okay, so what is affordable housing? It's not the same as rental assistance, I'll just say that. Affordable housing is housing that was actually built with some kind of government assistance, and that housing was built with this government assistance that maybe low income tax credit, maybe HUD funding, home funds, or some other funds, in order that housing would need to be affordable to people for, usually it's about 30 years. Like, that's the agreement. We give you funding to build affordable housing, or we help you build it. And you must keep a number of units affordable, if not the whole thing, affordable to people for 30 years. That's pretty much what it means. And they look at this in a couple of different ways. So they look at the area median income based on a certain area. And then the rents are basically tiered as a percentage of that median income. That's how affordable housing rents are based. That's what they're based on, right? And they also look at another thing, which we're going to get into a little bit more when we talk about rental assistance, and that's fair market rates of housing rentals. Now, we know it's hard to keep up with that because rentals are off the charts, and there's got to be something being done, and we're well aware of that because the rents are going up fast, and then those things can be adjusted, right? So we look at all of that, but the rents are based on a tiered basis. So you don't necessarily need a rental voucher to live in affordable housing. It's affordable units that usually are tiered based on the income in the given area that it's built in. And usually it's done in a few different chunks. So it's 30% of area median income, which would be, I would imagine, many people that you serve. And then, or it's done on 50% of that area median income, or it's based on 80%. Those are all levels of affordability. So, and that is all decided as you receive this funding. That's kind of guaranteed in the funding. You are required and you agree to build a certain amount of units at a certain amount of rental. And it's hard because that means that the person who's building the building is only going to get a certain amount of money for those rental units, right? So, but they got upfront some benefit to building it. So that's really what affordable housing means. I'm going to pause there for a second. Affordable housing must be marketed, right? It must be marketed. That is, it's a law, it's a statute that it must be marketed. Years ago, it was the named ways to market it were by press. So when an affordable unit goes online, you've got to widely market it in the press. You have to market it to area service agencies. Does anybody here get those notices? Notices
No.
on, no? Okay. You should be, if you're getting, so you should be on some kind of list to get those notices of affordable housing units going online, right? But a few other things that happened recently, I think maybe 2 years ago, is they updated the statute that they must electronically market these units, right? They must electronically market these units. So we're going to talk about some websites where they electronically market those units. So they would be good websites for you to go on if you're looking in a particular area. So that's all. They're obligated to do this by statute to widely circulate this opportunity to you, right? And every town must have an administrative agent that facilitates this, right? That facilitates the marketing of these units online. And the problem is that, you know, a town might have, and this is crazy, they might have an administrative agent for one building and a different one for another. Crazy. But they do all have to have one. And then there are very large administrative agents, and those larger administrative agents often market these affordable opportunities to many towns, and they are administrative agent for many towns. And there's a few very, very large ones, and they have built websites for search for these things. And we'll go over some of those websites too. I'm just going to pause there in case there's any questions. That does anything make sense to you or doesn't make sense to you before I go on and show you what this might look like. All right, great. All right, good, I think. All right, so let me show you what something looks like. So I'm on a list, and you can get on some of these lists. And this is a list. I don't know how I got on this list, but it's a Princeton list. But CPJ&H is one of the very, very large administrative agents. Piazza is another one, and they send out one-page notices like this. I've chopped it down a little when a unit becomes available. Okay, and this happens to be a Princeton unit that is coming on available. It came on available now, and you'll get a notice
If they
like
put
this.
Zscaler on your machine, that might be why it's doing that.
Okay, so I don't know who's talking, but if you could mute, that would be great. Okay, so you can see it talks a little bit about what's this village looks like, where it is. It talks about the amenities in there.
No, it's my job.
Okay, let me just take a look and see who's not muted for a second.
Right.
Okay, there we go. Okay, let's try that. And then it goes into the income. And when you look at very low income, that's 30%. Low, I think, is 50, and then moderate is 80. I'm pretty sure that's the way it goes. And it talks about, first and foremost, the income, annual income for you to be eligible for these units that are coming online, right? And then it talks about the rent that these units will be charged, right, for these buckets. So you can see it's affordable rent. May not be still affordable to people that we serve, and we'll get into rental assistance on top of that, but it's very, very affordable. So I get these notices, and we actually, if you're not on our newsletter list, if you go on that webpage, our front page of our website, you can sign up for our newsletter, and every week, and you'll be getting, the newsletter will be out in about an hour. Every week we post opportunities that we get on the front page of our in our newsletter. And we'll keep them there until it's the date's passed. And that's what we do. And we also do that when we know that wait lists are open for housing authority rental assistance and things like that. So we'll post these on our newsletter. We used to have a search, And the search, we tried to keep up with the search, but then we found like it was pretty redundant and we really couldn't keep up with it with the Housing Resource Center, which I'll go over in a little bit. But so we stopped doing that right now. And we'll see what we do. But we feel like if we just keep putting it in our newsletter every week, that's good enough. So we will post something like this. You can open up the PDF that we get and we'll do it. And as long as we get that information, we'll keep going. Okay. Okay. I don't know what that is, but that's for this maybe. I don't know. But if you look at our newsletter, yeah, you can do this. And I'll send you the notice on some of the other things. You might also contact your county or your town to definitely the town to ask who the administrative agent is and whether or not you can get on their list. For if you're in a small geographic area, you can do that and just say, I want to be on your list when you have units available if you're not getting those notices. But you all should be getting, as SILs, you should all be getting this. So do people get anything that looks a little bit like this? Anybody? No? No. Okay. Well, then I'm providing you with good information. That's great. Now, hopefully I'll be providing you with some more. Okay. These are, and this, I'll give you all the PDF, everybody who joined the call here, and I'll send it to people, you know, to Kate has the list of, and you guys have the list of all the SILs and where you got this, but this presentation will be available so you can see the Housing Resource Center links. And I'm going to try to show you these links live in a little bit. But the Housing Resource Center is through New Jersey HMFA, Housing Mortgage Finance Agency. It's on their website. It's supposed to have every affordable unit that these, like I said, they have to be marketed electronically. It's supposed to be in there. So everything that you're getting with these PDFs should be on there. And you can search by area, and you can search by whether or not it's accessible, and you can see all the up and coming. You should be able to see those units. Years ago, the complaint was that it wasn't up to date, and also people would find them and then be gone already. And I'm not sure if that's been alleviated, but certainly there's more up there because now they have to do it electronically. As I said, 2 years ago, that became a statute. If you're getting money in any way, and it's affordable, it's got to be on there, whether it's state money that you're getting to build or whether it's federal dollars. Affordable Homes New Jersey is the CPG&H large administrative agent that I talked about. They built a website so you can search their website for affordable units, and they will tell you the towns they cover. Likewise for Piazza and Associates, I think those are the two pretty much largest ones, and they do also provide a search for the towns they do. So I'm going to show you those in a little bit. Okay, let's pause. Any questions before we talk about rental vouchers a little bit? Okay. So rental vouchers, rental assistance, we have this PDF, as I said. And that is really, rental vouchers means you can take that rental voucher for the most part, and you can rent a regular apartment if you want. And if you can find one, and they should all be able to take rental vouchers, because that's a law too, that source of income, as in rental assistance, is not a reason to not allow someone to rent an apartment. But it just means that you will pay a portion of your income, and this is why it's very attractive, for that rent. And a government entity of one or the other, state or federal, will pay the remainder. So the landlord's getting whole one way or the other, but you're only you will only pay a portion of your income. So if your income is $900 a month, which is a lot, SSI close to that, right? Then you're going to pay $300, pretty much, right? It's a little caveat to that, but pretty much $300. And whatever, if you take that $300 minus the rent that, that landlord is charging, and you take the $300 out, the government entity will pay the rest. Now, there's a caveat to that, and that is within fair market rate payment standards. So the government's saying, I am not going to just pay the remainder of any exorbitant rent a landlord is paying. I will pay the remainder of rent that is within a certain payment standard for fair market in that area. And they come out with those every year. HUD comes out with them, then DCA adjusts it slightly and comes out with payment standards, the Department of Community Affairs, and then the state DDD has their payment standards, and mental health has their payment standards, because not, why would we make it easy? I don't know why. But there are several different types of rental assistance, and that is the way basically they work with certain caveats. Housing choice vouchers are HUD vouchers. Housing and Urban Affairs, that are federal vouchers that come from the federal government, and they have various flavors of those. They have mainstream vouchers, they have Section 8 vouchers, they all work similarly, and they are administered by either Department of Community Affairs, which gets a lot of them, that's the state entity that kind of manages a bunch of them, or the Public Housing Authority in your area. The Public Housing Authority gets awarded those, and then they allot them based on criteria and whether people apply and whether their wait lists are open and various other things. They are not state specific. So if these are the best vouchers, they're the gold standards, because you can, after you get a voucher, even if it's in your geographic public housing authority, if you have that voucher for a year, you can move to any area in the state or out of state, and you have that voucher, you can move out of state with that voucher. So those are great vouchers to get. We have state rental assistance vouchers, and there are about 4,000 of those, and those are paid by the state, and they're paid through the Department of Community Affairs budget. And I always say where it's coming from. The funding is coming from, because if you have to advocate, you want to say, I want more state rental assistance vouchers, there should be more than 4,000 of them. Well, then that's the budget it's going to come out of. So you got to kind of know where how the sausage is made a little bit in terms of where the money comes from. But the state rental assistance vouchers work similarly to the HUD vouchers, but they are done through the Department of Community Affairs. And every once in a while, we will put out a notice and they will open that wait list. So once they drill down on people waiting in that list, they will open it up, and they just did it, really, I'm trying to remember, maybe 6 months ago. They will open it up, and millions of people apply, and then they have their new list that they'll eventually work through. They're a little bit different in that you can't obviously move out of state. If the state's paying for your rental assistance, it's not going to let you move out of state. So that's one. The other thing is it does have income limits. It does have fair market rent rates that it will allow you to do. You have to live in New Jersey for 6 months to at least or more to get it. And then there are various categories that they have lists for, and you can sign up for more than one category if you are eligible in that category. And the categories are elderly. So the head of household must be 62 or over. So that's elderly. The family category is the head of household is 18 years of age or emancipated, with or without children. The disabled category is the head of household or spouse must be permanently disabled. So that's one that you might be interested in. And then the homeless category, a household who lacks a fixed, regular, adequate residence to live in. So those are the categories. So you might be disabled and elderly. Or you might have a family and be disabled. So you can apply in the various categories, and I think they're about equal to the number of vouchers. I have that number somewhere in terms of how many vouchers go into how many categories. I can get you if you need to know, but The wait list was open recently, so it's probably not going to be open again for a couple of years, but that's how you would get on it. And there are these vouchers available, and they are not specifically mostly. I mean, they're open to everybody in these categories. So as is Section 8. And then we have Supportive Housing Connection, and Supportive Housing Connection is an entity under DCA that manages yet another kind of voucher. Okay. And these are temporary vouchers, meaning they are paid for by the Department of Human Services, not DCA. DCA is not paying for these vouchers. These vouchers are paid for by the Department of Human Services. And not only that, they're paid for in either the mental health budget or the DDD budget, because those are the only kinds of vouchers they people that are getting services in those areas are available to these vouchers. So mostly, you know, we work with DDD. I mean, we do have, these are mental health vouchers also. They have their own way of applying. You have their own way of applying for those and get referred into those vouchers, which is much more complicated. The DDD voucher sign up is much easier because you go through your support coordinator, you go and you look at these, whether or not you look at your budget, your desired living arrangement, and if you can apply for that, they will apply, and these are the easiest ones to get. You will be awarded a voucher. So they have their own payment standards, of course. Now, again, most are going originally off the HUD payment standards. DCA adjusted slightly in that they don't like to go down. So the payment standards, for example, in Gloucester County, they might say, oh, you know, the HUD standards went down a little. We don't want it to go down. So we'll keep it at the other rate. So I'm saying that DCA payment standards mirror very closely to the HUD payment standards. DDD, I believe they've caught up, and now that payment standard is pretty close to that as well, which is great, but it took a long time for supportive housing vouchers, these connection vouchers, to catch up with the payment standards. A few years ago, they were several years behind. The mental health especially was woefully behind in adjusting their payment standards, because, you know, that's got to be in the budget. They've got to be able to pay for it. But I think now that's caught up, and we keep a close eye on that. So that's the way these work. These are temporary in the sense that when you get one of these vouchers, they would like you to apply for some other kind of voucher. They want you to apply for a federal voucher. They want you to apply for a state rental assistance voucher. They want you to apply for one of these vouchers, and so that you can get off their budget and they can give this voucher to somebody else. They want to keep this moving. But I have not heard from an instance where they're cutting anybody off of this voucher because it takes so long to get one of the other vouchers. They don't want to do that. So I'm going to pause there for a second. It does work similarly, 30% of your income. Okay, I'm going to move on. So I want to talk a minute about project vouchers, but I'm not gonna go into it too much. Project-based vouchers are awarded to a project and it stays with that unit. So if you have, say, a supportive housing development and you have people with IDD in those units, that project may have been awarded a project voucher. And that project voucher, you know, developers love that because that means that they're going to get their rent and they're going to keep those vouchers, right? So remember I said it helps with the development. If that project has guaranteed income coming in, it does really help them maintain the development. So there might be a project-based voucher there. You don't apply. Individuals don't apply for project-based vouchers. They are in the unit. So you will get referred into that that development in some way because of your disability. You might be able to rent into that. So it's either going to be marketed like a rental, like an affordable unit, or you're going to be referred in through your divisions into those projects, whether it's a mental health, because those project vouchers were awarded to that project based on the specific, usually based on the specific population they're serving. Right. So you move out of that, you don't have rental assistance anymore. Right. So That's kind of, I just want to mention that because sometimes you hear about that. Oh, it's a project-based voucher. Well, that just means that that unit is very desirable and you might be able to live in it, but then you really don't want to move if you don't have to, unless things are really bad, because you might not have that, those benefits anymore, but that's how it works. I also want to talk about public housing. You might remember public housing from years ago, the projects or senior buildings are public housing oftentimes, right? So the Public Housing Authority in your area manages and develops those public housing. And it is, again, very similar to affordable housing where the rents are very affordable to you in a certain income level. And sometimes they're limited to seniors or something else, some other family, but you would go to your housing authority, you would figure out what if they have public housing and whether or not that public housing has opened, when they open, how you apply for that. A lot of times seniors in a given area will apply for their senior housing and you do come up on the wait list. I'm on the board of a senior housing building in Rutherford because the diocese that I belong to, I'm the diocesan representative for it. And the diocese years ago, there was a lot of partnerships with faith-based communities building into the public housing and helping to build it. And that's a great thing. So we still have 3 buildings the diocese paid money for and invested in because they believed in the mission. And I can see how those people come up and units become available. And I can see that they, call the next person on the wait list and they ask if they're still interested, and then they do their due diligence. So that is available. We don't really talk about it too much, but it is available. Yeah, I'm going to talk about that. Is there one public housing list to go into? Do you need to go to each? Yeah, sorry about that. But yeah, you do need to go to each town. There is no one public housing list. But there's legislation that's always coming up and we're always advocating for many things. One is 2 things we talked about. One is there is legislation that's up now in the state that says if you we want the affordable housing units that are coming online, we'd like one common app for those things. We don't want to have to figure out different applications for different units. Can we have one common app, right? And that would be helpful, right? It would be great if we had one common app and one place to go look for all these, to apply for these things. So that's one piece of legislation. And the other one is in terms of rental assistance, and I can see things happening. So in Newark, they just passed an ordinance that is limiting the increases landlords can charge every year to people. So 5% is the maximum increase. And Newark has a lot of housing that is rent controlled. So there is a lot of issues with the rents today going out of control and landlords just, continuing to raise them above it. And it's making it harder and harder, even if you have a voucher, to go find that. So I would say, let's pay attention to those things. And then the other things are credit scores, which play into having it difficult for people to apply for housing. And this legislation that's up right now will say, if you have a voucher, why does the landlord care about your credit scores? Honestly, if you have a voucher that's going to pay your rent mostly, why should we be dinging you that you couldn't pay your rent when you didn't have a voucher? I mean, it just seems logical, right? So, but again, these things have to be moved and legislated. And so we look at all of that and trying to make things better, but the shorter answer is no, there's no one place. But if you are working in a limited area, I am going to show you how you can find all the public housing authorities and make contact with them once and try to get on whatever lists they have for these things. So I'm going to try to show you some of these. I'm just looking at the time. Okay, there is a resource locator on the HUD website. You can see it says find affordable housing near me. You can go by your area. It's fine in a public housing authority anywhere, you can go by that. And so I think this is a good thing to know, and we'll look at that a little bit. Because I think it's always, that might be a good place for you to start looking for your housing authorities and what they are. Not every town has a housing authority, and some cover more than just their town, and some are bigger. Newark Housing Authority obviously is large. Jersey City Housing Authority is large, but they also, DCA manages the vouchers for some towns, and also has a large pot of vouchers too. We have on our website, there's one of those bullets, and I'm going to go to the Housing Hub really quick to show you that. On our website, we have, under other resources, we have a document, Find Housing Resources, and it pulls up some of these links that we're going to talk about, okay, online. And so that might be one place that you can go. I would highly recommend you taking a look at that other resources page, particularly around the Find Housing. Okay, so now I'm going to stop there for a minute, and then we'll go to some of these websites to take a look. Anybody have any questions? Everybody's very quiet. Why is that? Any particular reason? It's fine. If you're absorbing it, great. That's good. I'll keep going. All right. So let me take a quick look at, okay. I'm going to take a look at this. And let me just share my screen. This is the Housing Resource Center website. Has anybody ever been on this? Okay, so this is through New Jersey HMFA. They have it on their website, and you can go on here and find housing, basically. So I'm going to click on that. And can you see it says rental? There's a bullet that says rental, accessible, things like that. Yes. Oh, you have. Good. And can I ask, have you found it helpful? And maybe when the last time you went on, you could unmute to do it. That's fine. You can talk now. Okay. Okay. But anyway, they're also for sale units. So oftentimes, and I should take a minute. Let's take 1 minute to express this. And we are one of few, if not the only state that has legislated that every town has an obligation to build affordable housing. Okay, let me just say that. Every town has an obligation to build affordable housing. And it's based on a criteria of the number of people who live there and the available land. And we have gone back and forth for 30 years legislating this and trying to make this work. But if you see the building going on now, it's because Fair Share Housing has sued a number of towns that they have not done that. They have not kept up with it. So many towns have now settled those lawsuits and are building. So now is a great time, and you should have more affordable housing available to you than ever. But when a town says, okay, here's how we have an obligation, you figured out we have to develop 300 affordable housing units. They have a say into saying we want some to be for sale, we have some to be rental, and special needs housing, which is the good part about this, often enjoys sort of double credits for those units. They enjoy a certain amount of bonus credits for those units. So it's very important for towns to include supportive housing in their affordable housing obligation, I'll just say. So let's just take a look. I'll just put the button. You should all go on and play with this. And you can, I'm just going to put my town in. Can you see this? Am I putting Whippany in? I just want to make sure that you're still seeing my search, and I'm changing screens and it's still doing.
Yes, we are.
Okay, great. Okay, that's good. All right. So you can see I put my town in, and you can see it's bringing up Whippany Village as an affordable thing, and it's telling you that that's the amount. It shows you the listing, shows you where it is, tells you what's available. Now, funny thing, 34 Eden Lane is across the street from me. So I found this fascinating when I went on yesterday to play with this, that they had affordable housing in these units right across the street from me, which just went up like gangbusters over the last year. And it's incredible, really. And I'm sure it's because Whippany needed to deal with their obligation. So you can see this full listing. Let me just click on that. And it goes up and it gives you more. There's a wait list. It's income-based rent. And who's the administrative agent? CPG&H. All right. So they're doing a very good job, which doesn't surprise me at all, that they are putting this on. So if we go on their website, we should see the same thing here. So lather, rinse, repeat. It's not a bad thing, right? It talks about the basic features. It talks about whether or not, let's see, accessible. Talks about the kind of accessibility, all that. So all those, as I said, because of the legislation that made everybody do this and put it on here, this should be your first go-to, right? This should be your first go-to as to where you're going for this. I wish they had, and I thought they were going to, and I did the live chat yesterday to see if that somehow I just wasn't seeing it. But I was going to say, do they they put open wait lists for vouchers for housing authorities, and I thought they were supposed to do that, or there was rumor that they were going to put that on here, but they said no, they don't have it. And I guess there's not going to be. Does anybody want me to put their town in just for, you know, to see what we might come up with? No? Anybody?
Sure, we can. We're located in Denville.
Okay, Denville. Denville, there you go. 4 properties in Denville. Eastling Village. 2, I guess they have 2, well, these are units, so for Cooks Pond Senior Housing. So it does have senior housing. And yeah, two kinds of senior housing are on here. Also, I want to say that a lot of times when you get one of those pages I showed you, and will be on here, so an affordable housing they may say that they have preferences. Oh, sure, I'll search Hamilton. They may say they have preferences. So I get all those 1 pages, and sometimes it'll say preference for those who live and work in Essex County, or preference for those who live and work in Essex, Morrison, Passaic, or something like that. So that's the kind of thing that you might see. Preferences. Okay, here you go. 24 in Hamilton. And you can see them, Twin Ponds Road, Freedom Village. Don't we love them? We do. Let's go look at their listing. So again, based on 50% of the area median income, which is $1,000 a month. Now, you might not be able to do that, but let's say, and you can mix and match. Let's just say that you have someone with the DDD voucher, and they might be able to move in here with the voucher and having that rent. You could do that. So it talks, like I said, all of this, how to apply, special information, what the kitchen looks like, accessibility, all good things. So they probably got a low-income housing tax credit to build this, my guess. That's my guess. They do a good job. I'm assuming it's, okay, let me stop sharing that. Let me go to the next one. Project Freedom is what I am assuming. So this now is the CP and G&H site, and it's called the Affordable Homes New Jersey. This was one of the links I showed you, and it's one of the links in our other resources PDF. This is that CPG&H website they built. And you can go into this link and look up by name, by county, all the rentals. Let's see, by name or county. Let's see, by municipality. Let's look up Whippany for a minute, and let's see if our thing comes up here. Municipality. Oh, look at this. All right. Let's see if they have Whippany in here, because they should, right? Because we know that they're the administrative agent for Whippany. Oh my goodness. See all the towns they are administrative agent for? And why am I not seeing this? Well, I guess not. Woodbridge, Westfield. Oh, yeah, I don't know why this isn't. I thought they had a search. Well, let's look at Morris. But they have Denville, Florham Park, Hanover, Long Hill, Montville, Morristown, Netcong, Washington. I guess they didn't put it up. So there you go. So always go to a Housing Resource Center first, and then go to the rest of it is, I guess, the answer to that. Let's look at this. Okay, so here's one. And here you go. It obviously has, it's a development that has all levels. And this is the income maximum that you have to start with. That's your yearly income. And then it'll tier the rents based on that. So this is a good website. I kind of thought it had a little bit more of a search, but maybe let me just give it a minute, and then I'll go on the other ones. Ugh. Yeah. Oh, okay. Okay. Let's go back to the beginning. Let's see. Let's go by rental. Let's see. Okay. Okay, so then it just goes by county. That's one way to look at it. It's just a few different ways. I'm sure if you play on this, you'll be better at it. But it is a good website, and it is good that they, being the largest, probably the largest administrative agent perhaps, has their own website. So I would hit them all, right? You do need to hit them all. So I'm going to look now at the Piazza one. They all are a little different. Piazza is a very large one too. So this is good. Affordable housing. And this, click for lottery facts. I think you can search this too, but featured properties. So it has all the featured properties on their website. Find your new home, and here's this. So if we can look at select a town. Okay, select a town. I'd like, let's search. Let's just search. Select a county. I'm gonna go to Morris. And oh, here you go. All right, Whippany. Let's see. I don't have Whippany. Let's go to Morristown. Search. But you can do the search by property type or housing. Here you go. Let me just see what the, so rental or for sale, 55 and over or not. You see all of their properties that are listed that they have in that area. So, and it tells you if the list is closed. This list is currently closed. Okay, sadly. But it does show you what they are. So you can, what theoretically you can do is make sure you get on their list so that you're alerted to anything that comes along. And even if you really like one of the properties, you can, you can advocate to your client that they should absolutely go talk to the property agent and make sure that, you're on their radar, right? And then I'm going to go to the HUD website because I think that's very helpful. So the HUD website will allow you to, again, find affordable. I don't know how often they look at this, but let's just see what they have here. So if you wanted to, let's say 1904 Appleton Way. I don't know. I don't think I think I looked this up yesterday. I probably will put in. Oh, I guess I don't think there is one. So let me just put Hamilton, New Jersey and see if that comes up. Okay. So it basically shows you, it should show you. Let me just see if I can. If you click on one of those little boxes, it can tell you the HUD properties there, right? So it can tell you what it is, where it is, what it has, how many units. So it's basically a sort of a census, more or less, whether it's subsidized, what kind of funding they got to build it, might be interesting for you. But it does give you the properties that are close by. And this is something, again, for a client to look at, where are they near you? Well, here's where they are. Are they open? We don't know if they're open, but it does give you a listing of where they are, right? Again, all of this is great. These are purposely built for people with disabilities, right? So I think it's a useful website. Like I said, it's not like the other ones where you say it's a list open, is the list closed? How can you apply? But it is useful, I think. And then if we go back, and what it's also useful for, as we said, let me just go back. Let me go back and in. I want to try to go into, well, let me just stop a minute, go back, go here, go back, come on. Okay, back to the beginning. Let me just do this. So if we look here again and we get this handy dandy thing that pops up, we can find our local housing authorities, which also I think would be really useful for you. So if we look here, the housing authority in Boonton, right? You can click on that. It tells you the number. It tells you a little bit about the housing authority, the kind of programs they have. It tells you a little about temp-based housing. You can find out the project housing units that they might have, project-based vouchers that they may have going through there. You can talk to them about if they have public housing, but it does tell you a little bit about where these things are. Let's just see what this one says. This is Madison, my old hometown. I lived in Madison for 38 years. They actually have a wonderful housing authority. Small but mighty, and they do a lot of really good work. So it talks to you about them. Again, great resource here. Morris County, and you can go 1, 2, 3, 4. You can see, I guess, the ones nearby: Morris County Housing Authority, Summit Housing Authority. I don't know what they're designating, maybe within a geographic area. So you click on one and you can see whatever the 5-mile radius, 10-mile radius, whatever they're saying here. Let's see what this one says. Okay, Borough of Lodi, and it's got 6. So this is giving you Lodi, Clifton, Garfield, Wayne Passaic. Great, good, great. So I think this is pretty useful. I mean, again, you're going to have to, you know, play with this and see what's useful, but I think it's very useful. Because housing authorities are critically important. They're critically important to rental assistance, public housing, all kinds of things. So I'm sure they have a list of blasts or something you can get on that also will alert you to things. So you're receiving it, you're not having to go out and get it, right? That's, you know, I try to get on as many lists as possible, and then we can kind of put them in the share. So I want to show you one last thing, and that's our, oh, I should check this. Okay, so in our, let me go, yeah. Well, on our other resources, well, you see our housing hub, it has all of these things on the right. Other resources, if you click on that, you'll come to this page. And what you know, and of course we have our videos and our bulletins and all of that stuff. But if you go down housing search tools, you open this, you can see a lot of these links that I also put in the PowerPoint. So you can do that. You can just look at these. There's also more links. I will also say, which I didn't say, that when you look at payment standards for HUD and DCA, and now DDD also will adhere to it, there's something called small area FMRs, right? Small area zip code FMRs. In certain areas, HUD recognizes that the difference in rental fair market rates are vast depending on where you are in that, say, county. And so they have gone by something called small area zip codes. So that, for example, Montclair is not the same as Newark, for example. So you might have a payment standard just for a certain zip code, which has been a very useful thing. It's not everywhere, but it has been useful in upping those payment standards. Therefore, the rental units you can rent with a voucher in areas that are, you know, are basically higher income and areas of more opportunity. And in some cases, areas where people might have grown up and want to stay in their circle of support. So I just wanted to show you that website, also our website.